Good day. How's it going? Okay. Boy, I don't know what's going on. Why the letters didn't come up?
The letters?
Yeah.
Oh, there they are.
Okay. Good day. Welcome to the Great White North Canadian Corner. I'm Bob McKenzie. This is my brother Doug.
How's it going, eh?
And today's topic, what was it?
How come Americans have twist off beer cap?
Yeah. Okay.
And
so
Canadians don't.
This is Canadian beer, right? And here's a regular top, and you open it, right? But American ones, they don't have any, right?
They twist off.
You ever seen them?
Yeah, I have.
I was talking to. Okay, so they go like jam or ketchup or other twist offs. The American beer is like that. Why is our topic? Okay, go.
Okay, the reason why is that Canadian beer is stronger, has more alcohol in it.
Really?
Yeah. And Americans got to drink more, so they don't have time to look for church keys and openers, so they just whip them off and drink, whip them off and drink, whip them off and drink.
Hey everybody, it's Aunt BB. Today is Tuesday, July 31st, 2018. I'm Barb Hammer, and that is a clip from a Second City TV segment that would run in the 70s and early 80s. And so that's a segment they called the Great White North, and it was with the McKenzie brothers, these fictitious brothers, Bob and Doug McKenzie, played by Rick Moranis here and Dave Thomas. And so the Second City TV was based in Toronto in Ontario, Canada. And they actually came up with this segment because in Canada, the broadcasters are required to have a certain amount of Canadian content. So this is what they came up, this sort of parody or stereotype of Canadians, especially Canadians in Ontario. So it's a very funny segment, and I was actually aware of, I used to watch Second City TV in the US way back when, early 80s, I guess. And I was aware of the Canadian content, or CanCon, that was the reason they came up with this segment. And so it was such a popular segment that they actually did a movie in 1983 here called Strange Brew with the McKenzie brothers, and Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas. They wrote the screenplay for this film, and they directed it themselves. And they're very funny segments. So there are a lot of these you can find on YouTube, and they're pretty funny because the stereotyping. And it's just a bit of Canadian humor poking fun at themselves, and I like that. So to explain, I'm putting on my dual citizen cap today. I'm from Virginia, Winchester, Virginia, originally, born and raised, and educated in the U.S. and worked in the U.S. And I've been a Canadian. I've got dual citizenship. I've been in Canada since the 90s, and I've had Canadian citizenship over 15 years. It's actually getting close to 20 years now that I've had Canadian citizenship as well. So I'm interested in Canadian politics, but I have a different perspective, and it might be one that Canadians don't always agree with, but I've had others tell me, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. So today I am going to talk about this channel, a video from this channel, and specifically I'm going to get into, I'm going to talk about this video right here. Right here. It says 6 reasons why the left is losing. and it features a picture of Justin Trudeau along with Elizabeth May, which is hilarious, and Angela Merkel, which is also hilarious. But see, this channel is very, very popular. It's grown rapidly. I mean, I don't know if it's even a year old. Wait a minute, let me see if it says the date on this. Yeah, this channel's just over a year old, and it's a Canadian channel. And I used to watch these videos all the time. They were very funny, and there was a lot of good commentary at the time when it started out. It's called The Truth Factory, and it features this mechanical cat. And it's a woman's voice, and she has explained in her videos that she's a nurse in Alberta. And I think she started this channel. She was really surprised how quickly it grew. And I think she's able to do this full time, more or less, I think. It's a lot of work because I don't know how she came up with this mechanical cat that talks. And it's a very influential channel, really. And it's not just people in the US and elsewhere watch this channel. It's very popular. In fact, H.A. Goodman has talked about this channel. See, he subscribed. And H.A. Goodman was a Bernie Sanders supporter, as you can see in this cover photo. And then he voted for Dr. Jill Stein, but he has transitioned. He's become a full-blown Trump supporter now. So he loves this channel, and he has recommended this channel. I've heard him when he's talked to Hard Bastard, another person who's a Trump supporter. Hard Bastard voted for Trump. He was worried about Hillary Clinton starting a war in Syria with Russia. So he was a liberal. He was on the left, he claims. I think he was just sort of to the left of center or centrist. But instead of voting for Hillary Clinton, he voted for Donald Trump. And so the Truth Factory channel is videos are from a right-wing perspective, and you can kind of see from the titles on the videos. But I'm going to focus on this one in particular, and it will show you how in Canada the right is, people think there's a big difference between the US and Canada. There really isn't. And you're going to hear it from people on the right. There's very strong right-wing views in Canada, and they really don't differ from the US. And what's hilarious is that just as in the US, the right wing in Canada gets the left all wrong. And it's hilarious that they label Justin Trudeau, the prime minister since October of 2015, they label him being on the left. Now, these other two, that's funny too. But I'm going to show you how he is not on the left. He is, in fact, a neoliberal. And I will explain the neoliberalism. There's a lot of confusion about that. It's often, the definitions are way off a lot of times. People don't understand what neoliberalism is. So I'm going to click on this video. I'm not going to play this video. I just want to bring it up here. Oops, I guess I've got that.
Really closely for a while. And I've watched as the left has rapidly descended to the Truth Factory. I've been following politics fairly closely for a while.
Yeah, I love that statement. She's been following politics fairly closely for a while. Now I'm not gonna play any more of this video. I'm just gonna go through some of the things that she says, and it's just to show you how the right gets the left all wrong. And I'll talk about Justin and neoliberalism in particular. But I want to point out what she says, the Truth Factory Kitty says in this video that is all wrong. I want to point out, first of all, she had a picture in the thumbnail of Elizabeth May. Now, she had to correct herself, but even her correction is wrong. So here she apologizes that she says Theresa May is actually part of the Conservative Party in the UK, which is typically closer to the center compared to the American Republican Party. No, that's wrong. The Conservative Party, or the Tories as they're called in the UK, they are firmly on the right. This is a Thatcher party that Margaret Thatcher, a conservative prime minister in the late 70s. She came to power in the late 70s, and she started the neoliberalism in the UK and moving the UK to the right. And she goes on here. So the truth factor goes on here. I confused her as a lefty, as she seems to have fairly liberal ideas, and I believe as a puppet for the EU. No one can claim that Theresa May. If I said Theresa May is not a liberal at all. And the Truth Factory Kitty is thinking that the EU is left-leaning, it is not. It is all part of the open borders that neoliberalism advocates. So that Theresa May is not liberal. She's not left-leaning or even centrist. And the EU is not left-leaning or centrist. This is all about neoliberalism and open borders. So the Truth Factory has gotten this all wrong. Okay, so she got that wrong. So that's hilarious that she's calling Theresa May, the Prime Minister of the UK, a lefty. She goes on, and the Truth Factory Kitty talks about, she's really talking about the fake left is what she's talking about. So she calls the left, people like Justin Trudeau and Angela Merkel, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. She claims that they are radical left pinko commies. Those are her words in this video. Radical left pinko commies. So Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Angela Merkel, Justin Trudeau, and, in the video, Theresa May are radical left pinko commies. No, they're nowhere near. This is how the right, anything, even centrist, left-leaning, is pinko commie and radical left. No. And she cites the Truth Factory Kitty here. I don't know. The Truth Factory Kitty doesn't have a name as far as I know. Maybe somebody knows if she's named herself. But so she cites as evidence identity politics, political correctness, and social justice. Well, when she's really just talking about the virtue signaling that all these leaders do to make themselves to redeem themselves somehow in the eyes of voters. And the other thing, the Truth Factory Kitty here, she compares the liberal parties in Canada and the UK. Now, the Liberal Party in Canada and the UK, they're both centrist parties. And the Liberal Party in Canada is actually a major party. So the federal government in Canada it swings back and forth between a Liberal Party in power and a Conservative Party in power. And right now, Justin Trudeau, he's the leader of the Liberal Party, so he's Prime Minister. But before him, it was Stephen Harper, the leader of the Conservative Party. Now, to me, the Liberal Party is centrist or center-right, and the Conservative Party is firmly on the right. In the UK, this is where the Truth Factory Kitty, she's been observing politics for quite a while, she claims. She knows nothing about politics in the UK. This is clear in this video. So if in the UK, you have the Conservative Party, the two major parties who hold power are always, or in recent history at least, have always been either the Labour Party or the Conservative Party. Now, the Liberal Party in the UK is actually a third party, a small party, and they are centrist. And in fact, I don't know, some people might argue that they're slightly left-leaning. I don't think they're really. The other thing is in the Labour Party, under Tony Blair was sort of the Bill Clinton of the UK, and he moved the Labour Party to the right. So right now, Jeremy Corbyn is the leader of the Labour Party, and he's trying to move the party to the left. He has social democratic values, holds social, and so he's trying to preserve the National Health Service, National Health Service, and other social programs, which are under attack. And he's also battling the Tony Blair faction, the right-leaning faction in the Labour Party. So the Labour Party is split, and Jeremy Corbyn is trying to bring the Labour Party back to the left where it used to be. So the Truth Factory Kitty gets UK politics all wrong. She gets politics wrong in general, and this is how the right, no matter if you in the US or or Canada, the right just gets the left all wrong. So she cites Justin in this video and talks about how Justin promotes the policies of diversity in Canada. But really that is just this virtue signaling, trying to redeem themselves by seeming progressive, but it's really a tension strategy. And she says, she compares the Liberal Party with the Democratic Party, which is correct. I would say that's true because the Democratic Party, actually starting, the Democratic Party has moved to the right. You know, it is no longer, in the US, you no longer have a left party and a right party really among the two parties. The Democratic Party has been moved to the right. So it's centrist or center right. And the Liberal Party, the same in Canada, I would say the same thing. Now, the Truth Factor Kitty, under her first argument, again, she says the left advocates globalization. No, globalization is a right-wing movement. And so specifically neoliberal globalization. So it's the idea of open borders and deregulation, just tearing apart any national protections that any country has on their environment, their labor standards, anything like that. And globalization is incorporated in these toxic trade deals that just destroy countries, the social fabric of countries. She also says, the ultra-liberal agenda is for open borders. Well, that's actually a right-wing neoliberal agenda. It's not ultra-liberal. She says that the left wants to eliminate free speech. No, the real left does not want to eliminate free speech. The authoritarian left and right want to eliminate free speech. Removal of weapons. She's talking about the Second Amendment. Well, the real left, the fake left, and paper progressives want stronger gun control laws, and they want to eliminate the Second Amendment in the U.S. The real left wants the Second Amendment protected, wants to preserve it, wants people to keep their gun rights, have their gun rights. So she also, the Truth Factor Kitty, under her first argument, so she names Angela Merkel, Justin, and Theresa May, which is hilarious. She also talks about how MS-13 is coming into Canada. Well, I did a little research. That's more fear-mongering. There is an issue with MS-13 gangs in the U.S. I have looked. Canada, no. She's making it sound like Canada is being overrun by this MS-13 gang from Latin America. No. That's just fear-mongering. Typical fear-mongering from the right. She talks about how the left is opposed to laws against Islamic rape gangs. That's a reference to Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson is on the right. Tommy Robinson is a Zionist. Tommy Robinson is all about this tension strategy and to divide people and keep them fighting over issues like the influx of immigrants. So her second, the Truth Factor Kitty, her second argument is over. She mentions again Tommy Robinson. She also invokes, she puts in an image, like a Stalinist image. So she's using this red scare, red baiting, fear mongering. She makes reference to the populist right, and she talks about how in Ontario there was just elected a Doug Ford. So the Conservative Party came to power in Ontario recently, in recent elections, provincial elections. And so Doug Ford, the brother of Rob Ford, so the crack-smoking demagogue. So it's demagoguery. It's not there. So Doug Ford sort of portrays himself as a populist, but he's not really. He's just a demagogue pushing right-wing policies that aren't going to help ordinary people in Ontario at all. So that's also the Liberal Party that was in power in Ontario. They were wiped out, virtually wiped out. And the Conservatives didn't really achieve the majority of the votes. From what I understand, the results were very much split. So it's not like Doug Ford has a huge mandate, really. So Truth Factory Kitty's third argument is really lame. It's just that all of these leaders, Justin Trudeau, Angela Merkel, Obama, and so forth, that they're all jokes. That's it. That's her argument. They're jokes. Okay. Number 4, her fourth argument is all about political correctness. And she mentions Roseanne Barr's show being canceled and says that's a losing strategy on the left. But she fails to mention that Roseanne Barr is an Israel apologist, and she apologizes for Israel's killing and massacring, killing and maiming Palestinians in Gaza and elsewhere. And so this is all, she sort of vaguely refers to tension strategy. Oh, the funny thing in this fourth argument, the truth fact, she mispronounces hubris. She says hubris. That's false pride, in case you don't know. I don't know why she throws that out. Okay, her fifth argument, she talks about the legacy media. That's good. But she claims that CNN, the Huffington Post, New York Times, BuzzFeed are all left-wing news outlets. They're not. They promote a neoliberal agenda. So they are not left-leaning at all. They might couch their arguments and left with left-wing sort of social justice terms, couch them in those terms, but they are not left-leaning at all. And actually, she does mention, now she gets this correct. She claims they're left-leaning, but she mentions the connection between the legacy media and the intelligence community and the CIA. And she does say that they're corporate, but she thinks corporatism is left-leaning. Corporatism is another way of talking about neoliberalism, really. So sometimes I will say corporatism because so many people don't understand the term neoliberalism. And I will show a definition and what it means. Her sixth argument is another very lame argument. She just says that the left can't mean. And that's not even true, actually. I recall back in 2016, there was a hugely popular Facebook page or group called the Bernie Sanders Dank Meme Stash, and it was hilarious. It fantastic memes. And so, and she mentions George Soros as though he's left-leaning. George Soros is not left-leaning. He's all part of this neoliberal agenda, really. So George Soros is really right-wing. So, she gets that off. He will support Democratic Party candidates, specifically Hillary Clinton, but Hillary Clinton is not on the left at all. So that sums up with it. You can watch this. I didn't want to play this. It's too long for me to play this and comment. But you can listen to this because it's just a terrible video. She gets the left all wrong. And so I'm going to talk about how, she's in Canada, so she's specifically talking about Justin Trudeau. Okay, so Justin Trudeau, there's actually a good site here. Quora site actually gives a very good definition of neoliberalism here. And it talks about, so here, so I'll read this. I'll just read this because it's very good. Very good. So neoliberalism refers primarily to the 20th century resurgence of 19th century ideas associated with laissez-faire economic liberalism. Now, Scott Creighton, American Everyman from the Church Dog 42 channel, he actually just talked about this, the resurgence of 19th century ideas in the Gilded Age. So if you haven't watched that video, you should. I will put the link in the show notes. So to go on, these include extensive economic liberalization policies such as privatization, fiscal austerity, deregulation, free trade, and reductions in government spending in order to increase the role of the private sector in the economy and society. These market-based ideas and the policies they inspired constitute a paradigm shift away from the post-war Keynesian consensus, which lasted from 1945 to 1980. Now, I would like to say that I studied economics in the late 70s and early 80s, and at that time, when you studied economics, the predominant theory of economics was Keynesianism, named after John Maynard Keynes. And it was all about the government taking an active role in stimulating the economy and providing social programs that would stimulate growth and consumption. And that's true. It was all about social programs and the government stimulating the economy. Now, so neoliberalism is really very different, very different. And let's see. Yeah, okay, so the second, it says the definition in terms has changed over time. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it talks about how it developed. Okay, I'm going to go down to this third paragraph. I don't know, maybe I'll read this. Okay, the second paragraph. The second paragraph here. The definition and usage of the term have changed over time. It was originally an economic philosophy that emerged among European liberal scholars in the 1930s in an attempt to trace a so-called third or middle way between the conflicting philosophies of classical liberalism and socialist planning. The impetus for this development arose from a desire to avoid repeating the economic failures of the early 1930s, which is mostly blamed by neoliberals on the economic policy of classical liberalism. I don't know about that. In the decades that followed, the use of the term neoliberal tended to refer to theories at variance with the more laissez-faire doctrine of classical liberalism and promoted instead a market economy under the guidance and rules of a strong state, a model which came to be known as the social market economy. I don't know. So, going on. Yeah, the third paragraph is good. I think I read, yeah, so this is good. This is very good, the third paragraph here. In the 1960s, usage of the term neoliberal heavily declined. When the term was reintroduced in the 1980s in connection with Augusto Pinochet's economic reforms in Chile, the usage of the term had shifted. Actually, neoliberalism was started, Salvador Allende's leftist government was toppled, and that was regime change, CIA regime change in 1973, and that's when I think that's when Augusto Pinochet, the military, took power. So I think this actually started early in the 1980s. I think that might be off. So Augusto Pinochet was the military leader that took power in Chile after Allende was toppled. Yeah. Okay, I'm back again. I'm sorry I had to pause the video there to take a call from a friend, but it actually jogged my memory. That's good. So I'm not quite sure where I left off here. I think, I think I started to read this paragraph. In the 1960s, usage of the term, oh yeah, I remember now. So I was talking about Pinochet and the economic reforms in Chile. So this is where neoliberalism, I think, in the modern sense, took hold. It was the Chicago school, the Chicago boys or something. So they neoliberalized Chile after they overthrew Salvador Allende, his leftist government, and then the military took power, and Augusto Pinochet headed that government. So yeah, let's see. So I read, So it had not only become a term with negative connotations employed principally by critics of market reform, but it also shifted in meaning from a moderate form of liberalism to a more radical and laissez-faire capitalist set of ideas. So they went from liberalism, classical liberalism, to neoliberalism. So liberalism, free trade on steroids. Scholars now tended to associate it with the theories of economist Friedrich Hayek, who was from Austria, Milton Friedman, and he was at the Chicago School of Economics, or Chicago University's economics department, and James Buchanan, along with politicians and policymakers such as Margaret Thatcher, Ronald Reagan, and Alan Greenspan. Alan Greenspan was the Fed chair for a long time. Margaret Thatcher came to power in the late 70s in the UK, her conservative government, and Ronald Reagan was elected in 1980 and took office in 81. And so that's what Reaganomics, trickle-down economics, Reaganomics is neoliberalism, and now we're seeing it as Trumponomics. Once the new meaning of neoliberalism was established as a common usage among Spanish-speaking scholars, it diffused into the English language study of political economy. I don't know about that. It was already in the English language study of political economy, so I don't know about that statement. By 1994, with the passage of NAFTA and the Zapatistas' reaction to this development in Chiapas, the term entered global circulation. Scholarship on the phenomenon of neoliberalism has been growing. The impact of the global 2008-2009 crisis has also given rise to new scholarship that critiques neoliberalism and seeks developmental alternatives. I don't really see that. So neoliberalism here, yeah. Neoliberalism is privatization, fiscal austerity, deregulation, free trade, and reductions in government spending in order to increase the role of the private sector in the economy and society. Okay, so this is asking whether Justin Trudeau is a neoliberal. I don't agree with this. To me, Trudeau sort of dresses up his neoliberalism. He will toss a bone to the public with some spending on some social program, but it's nothing. It doesn't reverse the devastation that neoliberal policies have done to the workforce in Canada. I just like how they explain neoliberalism on this page. So going on, there's a couple of other articles. So I want to take a little pause here, not in the video, but since I'm talking about Justin Trudeau, conservatives people on the right get Trudeau all wrong. So I showed in the Truth Factory video that she says he's on the left. He's not on the left. He's a neoliberal. He's right wing, really. He portrays himself as centrist, as a moderate, but he's not really. He's right wing in his policies, and he dresses them up with sort of left, social justice, leftist sort of imagery. And so anyway, I wanted to show. Okay, on the right, they like to attack Justin Trudeau and claim him he's some sort of lefty or commie or pinko commie, just as the Truth Factory is saying, using that term. She said radical left pinko commies and described Justin as that. No, he's not. Anyway, the other thing that they do on the right, there's this story going around that Justin is Fidel Castro's love child. And so the show pictures, like, to make it look, though, they'll show a picture of a younger Fidel Castro with a similar mustache, and they'll line it up with a photo of Justin wearing a similar mustache. And then they'll show Justin's mother, this is Margaret Trudeau, and Fidel, and there's baby Justin. Well, there is no truth to this at all. No truth at all. Because Justin, there's no way. Because Justin's mom was nowhere near Fidel Castro, and she had Justin right after she had married, like within 9 months or so of marrying Justin's father, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, who was the Prime Minister of Canada at the time. So there's nothing to this. And, just showing a younger Castro who bears some resemblance to Justin means nothing. Actually, what they need to do, but what they don't usually do, is they need to show a picture. Here's a young Pierre Elliott Trudeau. See? And then they need to... Here's another photo. Now, here's Pierre Elliott Trudeau when he was in his 50s, I guess, probably. And there's Justin. And they have a similar smile. So there is nothing to this Fidel Castro thing. There's also, they claim to, on the right, they claim that Fidel Castro's son, who committed suicide, left a suicide note claiming that Fidel preferred Justin. And so Fidel's son was always jealous of Justin. Well, there was no suicide note. This is a fabrication. So, it's just ridiculous. They're trying to smear Justin. Justin is really right wing in his neoliberal policies, but people on the right, because they don't understand, they get the left all wrong. So they claim he's a lefty, he's a commie, and they're just trying to smear him, and it's just ridiculous. So I'll show you some more pictures of Justin to show that he is no lefty. So here he is hugging Barack Obama, another neoliberal. The same old neoliberal policies that were started with Reagan, George Bush Sr., Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and then Obama. It's the same neoliberal policies. Here's another picture. So here's Justin Trudeau and his wife, Sophie Gregoire, with Hillary Clinton, because they're close. They're close to Hillary. And actually, Justin donated to the Clinton Foundation, which is a charity fraud. He donated 20 million Canadian dollars, taxpayer money, to the Clinton Foundation. And he wasn't the first. Actually, the previous Canadian governments donated to the Clinton Foundation. So it's just more of the same policies. Anyway, here's Justin and Sophie Gregoire, his wife, with Michelle Obama and Barack Obama. And in fact, they are so close. Michelle Obama and Sophie Gregoire, Justin Trudeau's wife, they had lunch, I believe it was last fall in Canada. Don't remember, it was Toronto. I think it was in Toronto. And they call each other best friends. So they're very close, very tight. So, he's very close to all these other neoliberal leaders, and he's doing just more of the same policies basically as the previous conservative government. So Justin is a neoliberal liberal. Yeah. Okay, going on here. So there are a few other articles that are good. So yeah, I agree with this article. It's from the Council of Canadians, which is it says acting for social justice. I'm familiar with this group. So they're left leaning, and they're talking about how Justin blends neoliberalism with populism. So I would agree with this, that he sort of dresses up his neoliberalism to make himself look like he's a social justice warrior, whatever you want to call him. And let's see. So in this article, yeah. So yeah, here it says, let me highlight this part here. Reuters report, Trudeau, who never misses a chance to sell Canada as a destination for foreign investment, had planned to attend the annual mid-January meeting of billionaires, investors, celebrities, and politicians. Yeah, so he's big on these trade agreements. Canada-European Union Comprehensive Economic Trade Agreement. Which contains, so he was at a previous World Economic Forum, and he likes that investment protection provision that allows transnational corporations to sue national governments over public interest measures that affect future profits. That's very neoliberal. Okay, so so Trudeau has actually worked closely with the Trump administration. So there's no tension. There's no real tension between the two governments that I can see. Excuse me. So NAFTA. Yeah, he made a lot of can't trust when Justin Trudeau campaigned in 2015. He made a lot of promises, but he has not fulfilled those because he's perpetuating the same neoliberal policies that the previous conservative government supported. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, he's done nothing. I don't know. He's done that. There is no universal pharmacare. Like he promised a lot of things for like social programs, and he hasn't really fulfilled those. Yeah. So he will pay lip service to social programs and social justice, but he doesn't really honor them. Yeah. Anyway, I think this article refers back to this one. Yeah. So will Justin Trudeau be the last neoliberal stand? No, I will say no. I think this guy says yes. Anyway, so yeah, it refers to Trump. And okay. And it talks about NAFTA. So, Justin supports NAFTA. NAFTA is good as far as he's concerned. So it says here, okay, I'll highlight this. The neoliberalism that has ruled everywhere for 30 years has other elements: privatization, financialization, deregulation, but politically its lost leader was free trade, and that's what sank it in recent campaigns. The real villains of neoliberalism, this is interesting. The real villains of neoliberalism weren't its natural parents, Reagan, Thatcher, Brian Mulroney, who was the Prime Minister of Canada in the 80s until the early 90s. It was their lefter successors, Clinton, Blair, Chrétien, and Martin. Chrétien and Martin were Liberal Party prime ministers who gave it what Tom Walcom has called a human face. That face made it even more odious when its effects surface. So this is how supposedly left-leaning leaders and governments, they are able to normalize neoliberalism. Yeah. Okay. So this is good. Why? Because of their sanctimony and moral superiority. Yeah, that's the virtue signaling. How could they be villains? They were so empathic. They dismissed those in pain inflicted. They dismissed those in pain inflicted by their neoliberal economic policies as deplorables, Hillary Clinton, and angry white men, Bill Clinton. Yeah, and this is why Trump won, because he at least acknowledged the devastation of neoliberalism. So Canada is different, but here too, the selling point of neoliberalism has been free trade, partly because we're too few not to trade. Our country arose to trade away our natural resources. We've had ferocious free trade elections. Yeah, so Canada's economy is a very much resource-based economy. So I've noticed this. They will just kind of clear cut. That's, just really just wiping off a whole mountainside of trees and mining and the fossil fuel industry. Yeah. So it's all resource. That's the basis of the Canadian economy. And they just give it all away, really. So it's unsurprising that Justin Trudeau is looking a lot like the last neoliberal standing, albeit with his own quirks, like not being a deficit hysteric. Like the Clintons and Blair, he exudes empathy for the excluded while clinging fiercely to free trade deals. I think you can see him trying to resolve the same dilemmas on which Hillary Clinton recently shipwrecked. So he compares Justin to Hillary. Yeah, so Justin, oops. I think you can see him trying to be both neoliberal and a populist. As a neoliberal, he is committed to trade deals like the TPP and the Canada-Europe deal, CETA, but they would almost certainly cost Canadian jobs. It's what trade deals do. So on the other hand, he's approving new pipelines because they create some jobs, and symbolically, they're all about job creation. As the next gen empathic neoliberal, he's also created a national carbon cutting plan alongside the pipelines, which will increase emissions. Contradictions, anyone? Anyway, so these pipelines are just giveaways to the corporations, the oil companies, and actually the Justin Trudeau's government recently actually bought the Trans Mountain pipeline that they're trying to build from Alberta, the Alberta tar sands to Vancouver, to the Pacific. And so that pipeline was so endangered that he's nationalized it. The government has bought it so that it will, and he's bound and determined to get it built, even though there's so much opposition to it. But it's a giveaway to the oil companies, really. This is what they want. So that's neoliberalism, just corporatism. Yeah. Yeah, so anyway. But I don't think he's the last neoliberal standing. I don't agree with that. I don't know. And the other thing, there's another, here, this is a good article here. Liberal Party of Canada, liberal or neoliberal. This is from 2014. This is before before the Liberal Party came to power in 2015, October 2015. Okay, so unfortunately, some of these articles that I've found, they confuse neoliberalism with neoconservatism, even though neoconservatism incorporates neoliberalism. But I'm going to go down here. This article is good. I remember seeing this. I think I was here. Yeah. This is good. But this is but the tip of the iceberg, unfortunately, when it comes to the liberal race to the right. During the past year and a half, very little liberal statements or policy announcements have had an ounce of progressivity. From their very virulent support for the Keystone XL pipeline, that's the pipeline from Canada into the U.S., and support of the Nexen takeover. Nexen was a Canadian oil company, I believe, or a fossil fuel industry company, and the Chinese government bought it out. So, they will just sell off Canadian companies and resources to foreign governments. Canada just it's just like a whore, really, just selling off its resources. So anyway, support of the Nexen takeover, to their silence concerning the cuts to CBC, that's Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. Employment insurance, that's unemployment insurance, they renamed it. Post Canada, that's the Canadian Postal Service. Or their refusal to show support for the higher corporate tax rate. The Liberal Party of Canada has done everything to prove themselves the worthy heirs of the conservative agenda, which has held power in Ottawa for the past 10 years. So that's the Harper, previous conservative Harper government. Here we go. Yeah. Yeah, so the Liberal Party has actually moved to the right. So this is the point of this paragraph. A few months prior, I wrote an article pursuing the following question: is the Liberal Party of Canada still liberal? In the space of a few months, the newly anointed leadership of the Liberal Party of Canada has had time to settle and put in motion their strategy to regain the ground they have lost over the past decade on the Canadian political scene. And their strategy speaks for itself. The rejuvenated liberal establishment has decided to embrace in many ways the neoliberal agenda that has been set in motion by Harper's conservatives. After all, as the saying goes, when you can't beat them, might as well join them. The Liberal Party of Canada isn't liberal anymore. Rather, it has decided to shed that skin and embrace a new neoliberal gown. Yeah, so this is just like the Democratic Party in the U.S. moved to the right. And Bill Clinton especially moved it to the right and embraced privatization and these trade deals, toxic trade deals like NAFTA. And the same thing happened in the UK, the Labour Party, under Tony Blair. Tony Blair moved that party to the right, and now there's a battle for the soul of the Labour Party between Jeremy Corbyn's faction and the old Tony Blairites. Yeah, so here we go. This is good. The path of the Liberal Party of Canada has embarked on is one of very high risk. It's a political calculation that Canadians fundamentally agree with the reformed Canada Stephen Harper has been carefully crafting for the past decade. A Canada which is in many ways the antithesis of what supposedly past Liberal governments built over decades. In absolute terms, there is little to no space in the stances taken by the current leadership of the Liberal Party of Canada for some of the most important pieces of the Liberal legacy. It seems as if this Liberal establishment has once and for all come to terms with the fact that they will put that legacy to the grave. Harper didn't have to do it after all. They have decided to do it themselves. Yeah. So Justin Trudeau's government is really no different from the previous Conservative government under Stephen Harper. Yeah, this is good. Yeah, so I'll go on here. Yeah, in recent polls, when asked what are the political elements that most define Canada, the pieces of legislation or policies that Canadians are the proudest of, Canadians responded overwhelmingly in favor of universal health care, a foreign policy revolving around the promotion of peace, and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. The Liberal Party of Canada has let transpire through their silence to the cuts to public services that they will not champion a rhetoric which will challenge the status quo and austerity measures. Much to the contrary, they will probably be at the forefront of the struggle to balance the budget on the backs of less well-off Canadians. Okay, now they get into foreign policy. Yeah, okay, so this is the thing. People, when Justin Trudeau, come on, I'm trying to highlight just this part, sorry. Here we go. Yeah, that's the thing. So people thought there was going to be a big change once Stephen Harper's Conservative government was defeated in 2015 and the Liberals under Justin Trudeau came to power. No, it's really been just more of the same. So this paragraph highlights that Canadians are struggling to come to terms with an ever-changing political scene and the damage which has been done to their country. Many Canadians have become apathetic about politics in general, just like the U.S., which is more than understandable. But on the other hand, many Canadians are ready to fight tooth and nail to defend the principles and values which have defined their perception of Canada and thus of themselves. And yeah, okay. But to do so and succeed, we must first understand that replacing Harper isn't the be-all, end-all. It's what and who we replace him with. So Justin is just the same, really, as Stephen Harper. Harper was really hated by the time he left office. Yeah. Anyway, that sums up that Justin Trudeau is not a lefty. He's continuing the same neoliberal policies that Stephen Harper had with his Conservative government. So I'm just disputing. I mean, this is just nonsense. The Truth Factory Kitty, Truth Factory Kitty doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. She really doesn't. So this is how wrong the right gets. The right is so wrong about the left. They don't really know what the left is. They just, this is the problem. The left has been so misidentified. I don't know. The other thing I wanted to point out about the Truth Factory Kitty is if you look at her show notes, she is continuing to support. She has a link to Maker Support, which is a fraudulent fundraising platform. Now, I checked her Maker Support account. She only gets like $14 a month, but I'm really wondering why she is still putting this link up. I will include in the show notes all the videos that Scott Creighton, American Everman, did on his Church Dog 42 channel about Maker Support, because it's a terrible fraud, and I don't understand. So this raises a red flag to me about the Truth Factory. So the Truth Factory is very popular. As I showed you, H.A. Goodman loves this channel, and it's got a lot of influence. People love this channel. It's grown rapidly. So this video has gotten, over 95,000, almost 100,000 views. And she has over 60,000 subscribers. And the other thing that I realized about this channel, what's so dangerous, is I'm certain that children are watching this. So it's forming the political opinions of children, future voters, future, full-fledged citizens of Canada and the U.S. So it's very dangerous, the influence. So this mechanical cat has a lot of influence online, and it's very dangerous, and she's mislabeling the left. She's calling the fake left radical left, pinko commies. She has no idea what she's talking about. She thinks that Theresa May is a lefty. She thinks that Angela Merkel is a lefty. Angela Merkel is the head of the Christian Democratic Party in Germany. That's a right-wing party. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so thank you for your patience. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. So please comment and give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. And that's my take as a Virginian in Canada with dual citizenship on politics in Canada. So thank you very much, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.